told me to. सदाशिव समारंभाम
Sadashiv Samarambham
शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम
Shankaracharya Madhyamam
अस्मदाचार्य पर्यंताम
Ramadacharya Paramentam
वंदे गुरु परंपराम
Vande Guru Paramparam
वसुदेव सुतम देवम
Vasudeva Sutam Devam
कंस चाणूरमर्दनम
Sansacharura Mardanam
देवकी परमानंदम
Devaki Paramanandam
कृष्णं वंदे जगद्गुरुम
Krishnam Vande Jagadguru
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानम अभ्यासात्
Shreyo Higyanam Abhyasa
ज्ञानात् ध्यानं विशिष्यते
Dhyana Dhyanam Vishishyate
ध्यानात् कर्मफल त्यागः
Dhyana Karma Palastyaga
त्यागात् शांति अनंतरम.
Tyagat Shanti Anantaram.
So we'll continue from last week, and we are in the second chapter where Bhagwan is describing to Arjun the nature or roop of Atma. So till the last shlok, Bhagwan has described the Atma. Now he is going to switch over a little bit gear, and we'll see what change is coming. So first chapter we saw that Arjun had that Vishad, and the second chapter started, and Bhagwan told him that this is not right, Arjun. You should not do this in this situation. And then Arjun said, okay, now I am confused. So can you guide me? So I am your Shishya, and Shishyasteham Sadimam Tvam Tapannam. Give me the teaching. And two things he asks, I always repeat because that's where the essence of Bhagavad Gita is. So two things he asks, I am Dharma Sammula Cheta, I don't know what is my Swadharma. And Yat Shreyas Syat Nishchitam Bhuru. What is Shreyas? You tell me. So he's asking two things. What is Shreyas? Shreyas means good for, not just for me, good for all. When it is good for all, it is automatically good for me too. So he's asking Shreyas and the Swadharma. That's where the teaching started. I think Bhagwan has realized that Arjun, he thought instead of getting into just explaining him what is Shreyas, he said, let me touch the fundamental teaching. And the fundamental teaching of all our Shastra, or in fact in human life, is people say, who am I? But who am I in the sense that what is this a body, or is this I am Atma? Because Arjun's problem was he started saying, I'm going to kill Bhishma, I'm going to kill my relatives, I'm going to kill my guru. So Bhagwan realized that when you're saying I'm killing, you're talking about the body. And Bhagwan realized that, and whenever body comes into picture, a sansar comes into picture, because they is related to the world. And then, of course, there is attachment to the body. So Bhagwan realized that Arjun is getting into that more because of those bodily attachment. So let me first address this basic issue. So he said, let me explain to Arjun and for all of us that we are not this body. And that's what, so we saw that few shlok from almost 12 shlok to 24th shlok. This Bhagwan is talking about Atma. And then next, we'll see next over, he'll switch the gear. But because that's the basic fundamental teaching and very unique to the Hindu tradition or the Indic traditions in Bharat. All traditions in Bharat believe in Atma. Some or other way, I mean, could be different way they define, but they all believe Atma, and people call it universal self or higher self. But I prefer to use word Atma, Sanskrit word. We don't have to translate too much into. So last time Bhagavan said that, and the attribute of Atma, and very famous shlok, couple of shlok which we use, like Nanam Chandati Shastrani Nanam Dahati Pavakah Na Kledayanti Apah Na Shosheti Maruta. It is Atma is partless, weapon cannot cut it. Weapon can cut when there is an object. And the example, subtle, like the gross example is my thoughts. You cannot cut my thoughts or my emotions. Those are, but Atma is higher than thoughts and emotions. मन और बुद्धि के भी ऊपर है आत्मा. तो जब इनको ही नहीं काट सकते, there is no weapon is there which can cut the thoughts or cut the emotion. So same thing, it cannot burn. Atma cannot be burned, cannot be wet, water, or all those five elements which we use in our meditation also. They cannot. That's the reason we say that our journey is from these five elements to Atma, which is our nature. So Bhagavan explained that, and then Bhagavan gives in Bhagavad Gita many analogies are there. So first analogy Bhagavan used here is that the old clothes. When the old clothes we are not using them, or maybe they are worn out or not usable, we change them. We just discard them and then put the new clothes. So clothes are changed, but the person who is wearing the clothes doesn't change. So that's what the analogy is giving, that the bodies get old, they die, but the Atma, because of which the body exists, because of which the body is, we call it Jeev, that never changes, that remains the same. So iske liye, that's what we always say, that whenever somebody's death happens, we say that wo Atma ko sadgati dein Bhagwan, or let the soul remain in peace. We don't have to use all that. आत्मा कहीं जाती नहीं है, आत्मा ही शांति स्वरूप है, आत्मा आनंद स्वरूप है. तो आत्मा को कोई शांति भी नहीं चाहिए, सुख भी नहीं चाहिए, और कोई स्थान भी नहीं चाहिए. आत्मा है, इसीलिए सब स्थान है. It's like that. So let's, whenever we use, when somebody passed away, that we don't have to use all those आत्मा के बारे में. Simple is that, yes, Om Shanti, that's it. हमारे लिए आत्मा तो शांत है ही सही. So that's what the message in these two shloks, very widely, these two shloks are used in discussions or when somebody dies. And that's what Bhagavan explained. So we have to read this shlok number of times to get the understanding clear. They are simple, but we have to read sometimes to make sure that comprehend the principle of the fundamental teaching, right? So what happens when I realize that I'm not this body? It's a very simple term, because the body centric, when we are there, we have anxiety, sorrow, grief, and fear, because mind is part of body, and all this is happening in the mind. And when I realize that I'm not this body, of course body will remain. Automatically I'm getting like transcending the anxiety, grief, sorrow, fear, all those, which are our emotions, we say that. And that's the goal here, the teaching. When realization of Atma means what? It is like that. क्योंकि देह के गुण है ये सब, सुख दुख राग द्वेष, sorrow, fear, like, dislike. So as long as and that's what in Vedantic term we say dehatma bhav. I think that Atma is there. Actually I'm Atma, but I think I'm there. And as long as I have dehatma bhav, I'll have all these limitations of deh. And then we saw that if we have the limitations of deh and we live with that, then punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. I'll be born again and again in the womb, through the womb of mother. Ihi sansare bahudustare. This world is full of like ups and downs and likes and dislikes, rag dvesh. So ihi sansare bahudustare, krapya pare pahi murare. Only one solution is that Adi Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, and many ways others people have said. Murari means Bhagwan. So Bhagwan ka naam is the only solution. And that's what we are doing, Swadhyaya. So it's easy tool to reach the self-realization. Of course, there are many techniques, but the best is Bhagwan ka naam. And whatever name it is, it's not limited to one Bhagwan or one type. Bhagwan is only one. the manifestations and many. So that was the last we saw 22, 23, 24 shlok. And now we'll get to the next shlok, which is 27 onwards, or 25 actually. And so now what Bhagavan is saying, that before completing this topic of Atma, in next 3 shlok, he is going to complete the topic, and he is going to say that, because the moment we think Atma, the thought comes into picture, death and birth. So next 2-3 shlok, he's going to clear that. What is that birth and death? And then Bhagavan will get into another teaching. So we'll see maybe next week, right? But this week is, so shlok 25 to 27, we'll see. So Bhagavan is saying that the one who is born will certainly die. Anything in this world, any object, including human, I mean, of course, we are human beings, but anything has, if it is born, it has to die. Worldly object. And then he says anything which died has reborn. We'll see that, right? What Bhagavan means by reborn. And Bhagavan says that this is unavoidable fact. This is the fact of life. And we all know that. So Bhagavan says this is kind of a choiceless choice. I mean, there's no choice in that. I cannot say that I'm born, so I should not die. And I think last time we saw one story that there was one gentleman, and it's a story. So he went to some forest, and in the forest he saw there are some good places, and there was a pond, kind of a spring water. And somebody told him that if you drink the water from this spring, you will be immortal. You will not die. He said, oh wow, I never knew that. So he said, okay, let me do that. And he drank the water. And then he became immortal. Now he's sitting in that forest, jungle, and immortal, right? And he's getting old. The body is getting old. But he cannot die because So then some other king came after some time, and somebody again told the king that there is a spring there. If you go and drink the water, you become immortal. So king, of course, king people, or the people who are big, they want to live longer. He said, okay, let me drink. So he went to the spring, and he about to take the water from his spring, and this guy yelled, hey, hold on. What? Look at me. He said, yeah, I'm looking, you're a pretty old guy. He said, old guy? I'm 500 years old. So, what happened? Don't drink the water. He said, why? Because yeah, I'm not dying. All my relatives, friends, everyone died. I'm not dying. I want to die now, but I cannot because I drink. So he said, don't drink. And so the message is that don't try to fight with the system which Bhagavan has created. So one has created a system, body will get old. There are stages of body. It's like jayate, vardate, apakshiyate, and vinashyati. Means it will be born, it will grow, it will decay, and it will die. That's the rule. So Bhagavan says, and that's what he's going to explain to this. So we'll read shlok number 25. And that was the essence what Bhagavan is going to say, but let's read shlok number 25 of second chapter. We are on the second chapter, and it is we are going through where Bhagavan has already explained Atma. So for the rest of the Bhagavad Gita, when we read, we have to keep these 4-5 shlok where Bhagavan has explained what Atma is. In simple terms, we should assume that I am that Atma. Of course, there are baggage we are carrying, so we go back to the old situation. Like my father used to say that whenever we read Bhagavad Gita or do any puja, we feel, oh, I am Atmanand mein hu. It's like you rubber को आप खींचते हो, आपको लगता है रबर बहुत बड़ा हो गया, जैसे ही छोड़ते हो वापस आ जाता है. We are human being, we are like that. दिन में पूजा वूजा करते हैं, गीता पढ़ते हैं, लगता है अब तो आत्मा, फिर वो शाम को वहीं झंझट लड़ाई झगड़ा सब शुरू हो जाता है. But we have to keep doing that. And that's the reason Bhagavan emphasized in Bhagavad Gita, Abhyas and Vairagya. Practice. Keep doing. And one day you'll realize. So 25th slok, where we'll see what Bhagavan is saying, second chapter, which is Sankhya Yoga. Avyakto ayam achintyo ayam.
Avyakto ayam achintyo avam.
Avikaryo ayam uchyate.
Vikaryo ayam uchyate.
Tasmad devam viditvainam
Tasmadevam viditvainam
nanushochitum arhasi.
anushochitam arhasi.
यह आत्मा अव्यक्त अर्थात इंद्रियों का अविषय, यह आत्मा अचिंत्य, यह आत्मा विकार रहित कहा जाता है। इससे अर्जुन इस आत्मा को ऐसा जानकर तू शोक करने को योग्य नहीं है और शोक करना नहीं चाहिए, ऐसा समझ ले। We can say that.
This soul is unmanifest. It is incomprehensible, and it is spoken of as immutable. Therefore, knowing it as such, you should not grieve.
Yeah, so the key word here is because now after this, Bhagavan is not going to talk about Atma for rest of the Bhagavad Gita. Well, few times he'll talk, but not that detail what he has talked. So what he is saying here, before changing the topic, viditva. And the viditva word means with, to know, and viditva means by knowing. So for message for us also, before we get into Bhagavad Gita, read all, let's make sure this fundamental thing is viditva. And viditva means it is realized. I experience it. And the example is given that, oh, it is sweet. I am eating something and I tell someone, oh, this is like gulab jamun is so good. And somebody that, suppose it happens to with all of us in America, right? Our American friends and all. What is that? Oh, it's very simple. I mean, I have never eaten. Then he'll say, okay, try that. And then they'll try, oh, wow, that's really good. But for me, the moment I see gulab jamun, even our kids, the desi kids, the moment they see gulab jamun, उनको मजा आ जाता है. Because once they have tested, or maybe it's in our DNA. So वो बच्चों को गुलाब जामुन देख के स्वाद आ जाता है. But जिसने खाया नहीं उसको आएगा ही नहीं. So Bhagavan is saying viditva means you have to do that anubhav. And how we do the anubhav atma, like I am atma, only way is that we do that ध्यान. उसके बहुत सारे वर्जन है ध्यान के. कोई भजन से आ सकता है, किसी को गुरु नानक को भजन से मिल गया था, कबीर को बात करने से मिल गया था, ऐसे छोटे मीरा को सड़क पे नाचने से मिल गया था. देयर आर वेरियस वेज, whatever way we can find, but we have to realize ourselves. But we are not like Kabir or Meera or Nanak. We are normal worldly people. I think Bhagavad Gita is best. उसको पढ़ें बार बार, समझें and ध्यान करें, जो हम लोग ध्यान करते हैं, which is given in Bhagavad Gita. And someday we'll realize that we are there. I mean, ऐसा नहीं कि हमें कुछ नया पता लगने वाला है. So that अनुभव भगवान में से विदित्वा means तुझे खुद ही जानना पड़ेगा अर्जुन. And then once you know that na anushochitum arhasi, na arhasi, then you don't have to worry, because you know that you are Atma. And we saw the example of a story that Alexander came and he wanted to take that Swami, and he said, yeah, you can kill my body, but not me. So you have no fear? I said, no, your body will be killed, right? Then who are you? He said, no, I'm not the body. And then the discussion starts. So that people, when we realize, so the problem is moh and bhai, all those things are because of the body. And once I realize that I'm not the body, then fear goes away, anxiety goes away, sorrow goes away, and you live in Atmananda. That's the goal, right? So Bhagavan says viditva. So there was a scientist, I read a paper, I read things around. So he is a neuroscientist, and it was wonderfully explained. And he was not even Hindu. He referred Bhagavad Gita. And he said that he did the study, and people say Atma is energy, or Atma is like superlative power. All those terminology people use for Atma. So he did his study, and then after the study, he said, oh yeah, I did, because he's a physicist or something. Or he said, I studied energy. But then he said at the end of the paper, very nicely, he said, that's what I like. I mean, he said, yeah, I am scientist, I understand that, but don't compare what Hindu teachings say the Atma, the way they have defined. And if you compare with the energy, like, oh, it's like energy, people say, no, you are degrading the teaching. You are losing the joy of the teaching. So don't do that. Yeah, there is energy, it's fine. The energy is all over. But the Atma that don't. So he says, this teaching, take as it is. Don't start comparing with things. जैसे मैं भी कई बार बोलता हूँ, हम लोगों के यहाँ मंदिर वगैरह में प्रोग्राम होते हैं, तो लॉट ऑफ अवर people say that, and nothing, they are not too wrong in saying that, but everybody should, everything has a scientific reason in Hindu tea. I said, no, everything, let's not bring every science in everything. अरे बच्चे को दर्शन कर रहे हैं, आरती कर ताली बजा रहा है, उसमें क्या साइंस है? इसको ताली बजाने दीजिए, आप भी बजाइए, उसमें क्या साइंस लेके आने ताली में? अरे ठीक है, भगवान सामने कृष्ण खड़े ताली बजा रहे हैं, आनंद करिए, उसमें ज्यादा हर everything is not science. And that's what I like his paper, that the beauty of the darshan, beauty of that, not even philosophy, it is darshan. We sometimes will see what is the difference. Philosophy is loosely translated darshan, but so he says don't do that. So there was a professor of botany. One time he went to a botanical garden with his family, and everybody is like, the little kids, and even we go to botanical garden, we enjoy that. You see the flower and you see all those colorful things, and everybody was enjoying it. This guy, he took one flower and broke all the petals and then broke everything and started. And somebody said, what are you doing? He said, I'm looking inside the flower. What is it? He's a botany professor of botany. And his wife said, come on, we are here to enjoy the beauty of this flower, and you are like dissecting the flower, because this guy is a botany professor. So let's not bring science in everything. Adhyatma, there are science, but Adhyatma is Adhyatma. So that's what Bhagwan is saying, कि उसको अनुभव कर, ज्यादा उसमें लॉजिक में नहीं पढ़ना, because logic doesn't solve everything. So there is a दोहा कबीर दास जी का है, and we're taking some time, but it is important because we are leaving this subject of Atma. So what तुलसी कबीर दास जी का दोहा है, an example he gives कि जब wedding होती है, तो wedding में two parties come together, the bride and the groom's party, and everybody is together, all decorated, everything is, वो सजा खूब पूरा 2-3 दिन चलती है हमारी wedding होती है, and finally the goal of wedding is what? When the reception is done, रात को सब खत्म हो जाता है, सब चले जाते हैं, तो दूल्हा दुल्हन remains. That's the purpose of that wedding, that बस बाकी सब खत्म हो गया, बाकी सब जरूरत नहीं थी. तो कबीरदास जी का बड़ा अच्छा दोहा है, कहा सुनी की है नहीं, कहा, हम लोग सुनते हैं, श्रवणम करते हैं, कहा सुनी की है नहीं, देखा देखी बात, अंदर जाके देखो खुद, खाली किताबों में देखने से भी नहीं होगा. देखा देखी बात, दुल्हा दुल्हन मिल गए, फीकी पड़ी बारात. बारात का कोई मीनिंग ही नहीं था, बारात का मीनिंग इसलिए था कि दुल्हा दुल्हन मिल जाए. तो मैं वो परमात्मा को अंदर देख लूं, दैट इज द गोल ऑफ ऑल दिस टीचिंग. कोई आप प्रवचन सुन लें या यूट्यूब सुन लें या भगवत गीता पढ़ लें, द गोल इज दैट कि ना देखा देखी बात, दुल्हा दुल्हन मिल गए. जिस दिन मैं अंदर अपने अपने अंदर परमात्मा को देख लूंगा, जो मिलन हो जाएगा, फीकी पड़ी बारात. ये सब सेकेंडरी है, ये सब जो अरेंजमेंट है सब जरूरत नहीं. सो दैट्स व्हाट भगवान इज सेइंग कि इसको तू जान लेगा, फिर तेरे को तकलीफ नहीं होगा. सो दैट्स वेयर 24th श्लोक इज ओवर, एंड kind of the topic of Atma is over. Then Bhagwan is going to just briefly touch about death and birth and death, because there's relate. We as a people of the body, we focus whenever आत्मा की बात आती है, लोगों को जन्म मृत्यु की याद आ जाता है. तो भगवान ने क्लियर कर दिया, इज वेरी गुड टीचर. बस मैं भी सोच रहा था ये 3-4 श्लोक का बहुत जरूरत नहीं थी, बट आई थिंक ही रियलाइज कि ये लोगों के दिमाग में ये जन्म मृत्यु घुसा ही रहता है. लेट मी क्लियर दैट आल्सो. सो दीज 2-3 श्लोक विल क्लियर, and then the whole Gita will change forward. So let's read 26 श्लोक. अथ चैनम नित्य जातम,
अथ चैनम नित्य जातम,
नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतम,
नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतम,
तथापि त्वं महाबाहो,
तथापि त्वं महाबाहो,
नैवं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
नैवं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
So भगवान is saying, और यदि तू इस आत्मा को सदा जन्मे और मरने वाला मानता है, तो भी अर्जुन इस प्रकार शोक करने योग्य नहीं है. एंड विल रीड मोर नेक्स्ट श्लोक आल्सो, दे गो टुगेदर. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्यु,
कथ्यस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्यु,
ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च,
ध्रुवं जन्ममृतस्य च,
तस्मात् अपरिहार्यर्थे
तस्मात् परिहार्यर्थे
न त्वं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
न त्वं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
क्योंकि इस किसी की जन्मने वाले की मृत्यु और मरने वाले का जन्म निश्चित है, इससे तू बिना उपाय वाले विषय में अपरिहार्य, शोक करने को योग्य नहीं.
And Arjuna, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. For in that case, death is certain for the born, and rebirth is inevitable for the dead. You should not, therefore, grieve over the inevitable.
Wow. See these two, ये दो श्लोक में दोनों बार भगवान शोचितुम अर्हसि. You don't, why? Now he's saying, okay, chalo tere ko atma bhi, you are not even getting that atma, that darshan, or we call it philosophy, but darshan. Atma gyan is darshan in Vedantic terms. So darshan pura Bhagavan ne bataya 12th shlok to 25th shlok. But he said, okay, now suppose you are still stuck to body. Assume you don't get the darshan. Now even body is also object. And anything born, anything in this world has an expiration date. So chalo atma nahi manta, atma you think body is atma. It's okay. So now Bhagavan, he told his philosophically or darshan mein bataya, nahi samajh aaya, so now he is telling in kind of in a psychological manner, which is manovigyanam bolte hain, or we say conventional teaching, or the mainstream teaching, which is we think of body, and everybody is stuck to body. So Bhagavan says, okay, chalo, एक मिनट के लिए आत्मा नहीं मानता है, ऐसे तो मानना चाहिए वही विदित्वा. तो भी बॉडी को तो खत्म होना ही है, भीष्म को भी जाना है, द्रोण को भी जाना है, then why are you worrying about the bodies? Even तेरे को भी जाना है. So he is giving that, and the word he uses apariharyarthe, this principle that anything is born has to die, and he uses anything is which died, it will be reborn. That's where the principle of karma comes. Reborn means as long as, and this question was asked to me, I was giving a talk in Pittsburgh mortuary school. They call me sometimes. So one girl asked that, you people say that Hindus that you will come back, but who decides how you will come back? Because you don't say there is a person sitting. I said there is a system working, and the system is like that. You take the mortgage on a house, and suppose you die, the mortgage doesn't die. If your kids are there or something, you have to keep paying that. It doesn't matter you die. So if you're saying, okay, my son will, you nominated your wife, or maybe nominees your wife or children, they'll have to pay the mortgage. So it is transferred. So same thing. If you die with your karma and vasana, you will be reborn based on that karma and vasana. And if there is no karma vasana element, then moksha, you're done. So it's very simple. There is no one sitting there and deciding. It is the system working. So that's why Bhagavan is saying. Bhagavan will say that the one which died will be born based on the law of karma. So, if we can, and we'll see in the Gita, at last chapter is moksha. There is a possibility that you may not come, but as long as you have the karma, that is unavoidable, Arjun. You just cannot say that I will say this Bhishma should not die. The story of that guy who wanted to immortal. So that's what Bhagavan, this shlok says. This is aparihara. Aparihara means unavoidable. This is unavoidable. So this is a choiceless choice. I mean, in that sense, you have a choice, but there is no choice because you are born as a human being. So there is no choice. So the only way which Bhagavan says viditva, he used that again in a word that knowing, by knowing. So vivek is the word. Vivek means the power to, or maybe viditva is a vivek also, we can say. Vivek is the only way we can handle the choiceless situation in our life also. Many times we find a situation which is choiceless. Then I either I run away or I fight or I give up. But the person who is Vivek, he'll say, okay, hold on. In this situation, I have to continue to move forward. So, okay, so I can avoid this or I can move forward, leave this aside. वो एक गाना है बहुत अच्छा पुराना हिंदी का, वो अफसाना जिसे अंजाम तक लाना ना हो मुमकिन, उसे एक खूबसूरत मोड़ देकर छोड़ना अच्छा. The choice which cannot be fulfilled, it's खूबसूरत मोड़ देकर छोड़ना अच्छा means use your discrimination, wisdom, and just leave that and move forward. जीवन रुकता नहीं है. So that's why भगवान telling अर्जुन की तू इसके लिए अपने आप को मत रोक, क्योंकि सभी को जाना है, मुझे भी जाना है. So अगर आत्मा भी नहीं आत्मा मान लेता है तो झंझट खत्म हो गई. Then there is no fear. There is absolutely. But चलो बॉडी मान लेता है अपने आप को, तो भी every body has to die, and this is unavoidable principle. So these two shlok is talking about death and birth, and Bhagavan says, which is unavoidable. Nobody can avoid. And there is a saying that 3 things in life are certain. In fact, Benjamin Franklin said two things in life certain, but our Vedanta. So he said death and taxes. Oh, he was talking in sarcastic term, but according to the Shastra, there are 3 things in certain. One is we will die at some point in time. That is certain. Everybody will die some point. Anything which is born will die. That's what this shloka is saying. Second is when and how, that is uncertain. You may die because of health, you may die because of accident, anything. That's all uncertain. Nobody can say that, oh, I decide, other than some sadhu sannyasi, the people who have achieved siddhilok, they can decide, but normally you don't know. That is uncertain. But certain that you will die on some day, but when and how, you don't know. And the third thing is, which is this shlok says, anubhav. That is certain. In our life, we get experiences, we feel things, and that is where the crux is. And that's where, so Bhagwan, that's where the Gita comes. ये सब तो हो गया, अभी आगे भगवान बताएंगे करना क्या है. तो करना ये है कि जो अनुभव होंगे, use those experiences and move forward, which is of, जैसे वो कबीरदास जी का इस दुआ है ना, सार सार को गहिर ले थोथा दे उड़ाए. The one which is of your essence, which is of your use, just use that and move forward. Rest experiences which are, छोटा बच्चा भी होता है ना, उसको आप पहली बार, we all have that experience. We don't remember, but we all, उसको आप पहली बार कैंडी देते हैं with wrapper, in the wrapper. वो पहली बार तो वो wrapper से ही खाएगा, because the child doesn't know. First time only. Then you just open the wrapper and give him. That's it. That's it for rest of the life. अभी मेरे को अभी भी कोई कैंडी दे, I know. That is the experience. Life में भी एक बार तो ये सब कष्ट है पता लग जाएगा, देन सब कष्ट को हटा हटा के जीवन को चलाना, ये रैपर को हटा के देन एंजॉय द स्वीट. दैट्स द टीचिंग. सो दैट्स व्हाट भगवान इज सेइंग इन दिस श्लोक कि न शोचितुम अर्हसि. ये समझ ले अर्जुन, दोनों चीज. आत्मा को समझ लेगा तो पहले श्लोक में बता दिया, शरीर को भी अगर मानता है तो अपरिहार्य है, अनअवॉइडेबल फैक्ट है ये. तो अगर तेरे को नहीं समझ आता तो भी ये मेरी बात मान ले कि अनअवॉइडेबल है. And that's what, so this, up to this part, we'll read 20 or 28 also, because that's where Bhagwan is still continuing to talk about Atma. And then next week when we'll meet, there'll be a different topic. So let's read 28 also. Avyakta bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. So Bhagwan says, hey Arjun, संपूर्ण प्राणी जन्म से पहले बिना शरीर वाले थे, मरने के बाद फिर बिना शरीर वाले होंगे, बीच में शरीर वाले प्रतीत होते हैं, फिर उस विषय में क्या चिंता. So he's extending the teaching. Yeah, Ramji, if you can want to read in English, we'll do that. Yeah.
Arjun, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. At death, they return to the unmanifest again. They are manifest only in the interim between birth and death. What occasion then for lamentation?
Yeah, so that's what. See, now he's continuing to talk about birth and death. So it's like that example, many examples. A simple example is, there is a seed. Yeah, we all know there is a tree in the seed. It is there. There is a story comes in, which is also this guy, he says to his father that, oh, I mean, where is the tree? I don't see. He says, okay, just there is a tree. So this guy break the seed and says, there's nothing in the seed. I broke the seed. There's no tree. He said, okay, now take the seed, put in the soil, and put around that. We create the soil and water, and just wait. And after waiting for a few days, the tree comes out. So tree was unmanifest in the seed. Same thing Bhagwan is saying. कि जन्म के पहले we are unmanifest. So आत्मा कहीं जाता नहीं. It's like we break the old building and create a new building. Same space, room space is same. The old building is gone and the new room has come, or new building. Room is basically the space has come. So space is still there, new building has come. So Bhagavan is saying it was like a seed, unmanifest, and marne ke baad fir unmanifest. When your body dies, unmanifest body, Atma is still there. In the middle, it is manifested. In the middle, you see that, oh, this is Sanjay Mehta, this is Ram Bajaji. And so in the middle, it is, and the word he is used, Madhyani, you see that. And his whole life is, sansar is, according to our Shastras, ये सब माया है. जो बीच में है, ये सब माया है. इसको हम लोग माया बोलते हैं कि ये है नहीं पर दिखता है. Because the actual is unmanifest Atma. That is the reality. This body is asat. That's what we saw in the previous shloka. That body is asat. Anything in the world is asat. But yeah, we have to live the life. I mean, there is a purpose that. So we don't want to unnecessary. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. You don't get too much into the logic. Understand that either you understand Atma or understand the body, which is to die, or this principle that before it is unmanifest, and then there's a manifest body because of Atma, and like light bulb, same principle. When there is no bulb in the holder at home, when we move to a new house or new room, yeah, there is, when we get the bulb from Home Depot, put the bulb, light is there. If bulb is expired, then there's no light, but light is still, electricity is there in unmanifest form. Only thing, because of the bulb, it is manifested as a light. So that's what he's saying. So Bhagavan says, then tatra ka paridevana. Paridevana means chitta. Again, word is same, shochitum arhasi, but he has used different Sanskrit word. That subject, because the subject is very clear. So don't lament on this truth. The truth is that unavoidable, like unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest, and the life cycle goes on. Same like birth and death. So Bhagavan says, so karna kya hai? बीच में, अब the key word is like व्यक्त मध्यानि. जब ये manifest होती है in the middle, we are like us, life, use it. इसीलिए जीवन मिला है कि बड़े भाग्य मानुष तन पावा, सुर दुर्लभ सब ग्रंथ न गावा. तुलसीदास जी कहते हैं कि बड़ी मुश्किल से मनुष्य जन्म मिलता है. Animals, they are like, we see the dog, America में तो dog को दिखते हैं. They don't have no choice. They have no choice to do a प्रार्थना or puja or anything, right? कुछ नहीं कर सकते, वे खाते पीते हैं, that's it. So you are मनुष्य, बड़ी मुश्किल से जन्म मिला है, उसका उपयोग करो. That's what he's saying. मध्यानि, मध्यानि में manifest है, so use that manifest as an opportunity. Otherwise, आहार निद्रा भय मैथुनम च समान एतत् पशुभि नराणाम. विवेक ही तेषाम अधिको विशेषो विवेकहीना पशुभि समाना. Ahar, nidra, bhai, मैथुन means sleeping. Ahar means eating, nidra means sleeping, bhai means fear, and मैथुन means procreation. These four are common in human being and animals. They do that. Only one thing is different, vivek. Or dharma, sometimes they use dharma. Vivek dharmo hi eko tesham adhiko. One thing is extra with human being, vivek, or buddhi, or dharma, whatever we call it. If you that remove, pashu bhi samana. आप भी वैसे ही हो. So this is what Bhagavan is saying कि व्यक्त मध्यानि, बीच में manifest means as a जीव. Use it. This life मिली है इसको. इसलिए आप देखें हमारी हिंदी मूवीज में बहुत सारे गाने जीवन पे इतने गाने हैं कि जिंदगी एक सफर है सुहाना, और जीवन चलने का नाम, कितने गाने जीवन पे. इस सब गाने में मैसेज यही है कि इसको एंजॉय करो. एंजॉय द जीवन. एंड आध्यात्मिक, if you do the adhyatmic, then otherwise rajogun mein enjoy karoge, then we'll see the 17th chapter, then you will come back, the cycle there. So I enjoy, because at the same time spiritual elevation is required, so that you don't get that sorrow, grief, and all. We will keep talking throughout Bhagavad Gita. So we'll read one more Shloka 29, Ramji, and we have a few minutes, so we'll read one more, right, which is related, the same. Ashcharyavat paschit kashchidenam.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कच्छदेनम्.
आश्चर्य तद्वदति तथैव चान्यः.
आश्चर्य तथैव यान्यः.
आश्चर्यवच्चेन शृणोति.
आश्चर्यवच्चेन मन्यः शृणोति.
श्रुत्वाप्येन वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
श्रुत्वाप्येन वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
कोई महापुरुष इस आत्मा को आश्चर्य की जो देखता है, और वैसे ही दूसरा महापुरुष आश्चर्य की जो इस कहता है, और कोई दूसरा पुरुष आत्मा को आश्चर्य की जो सुनता है, और कोई कोई सुनकर भी इस आत्मा को नहीं जानता है। बहुत बढ़िया चैलेंज वाला श्लोक दिया भगवान ने।
Hardly anyone perceives this soul as marvelous. Scarce another likewise speaks thereof as marvelous, and scarce another hears of it as marvelous, while there are some who know it not even on hearing of it.
Yeah. So he's saying कि this is a really like ऐसे ना आश्चर्य होता है ये आत्मा का जो प्रिंसिपल सुनते हैं, तो भगवान कह रहे हैं कि कोई तो आश्चर्य मीन्स लाइक सरप्राइज, and it is the concept is not the concept, it's a reality, it's not a concept, but this reality is sometimes, oh, this is, and I personally feel when I go to interfaith forums and I talk about this, and I feel that the people who are non-Hindus are right, they feel, yeah, and I say that look at the concept. There is a system. There is no one coming and doing something, and there will be a decision. Of course, everybody has their explanation, which is fine. But this principle it's very straightforward. And so Bhagavan says कि कोई महापुरुष इस आत्मा को, like this atma again, there's no soul. It's like what is that? It's like that. It is a very very detailed and complete principle. एंड देन कोई इसको सुनता भी है, तो भगवान से रहे हैं, लेकिन भगवान आखिरी में कह रहे हैं कि सुन के भी इस आत्मा को नहीं जानता है. दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लम. इट इज एक्सप्लेन्ड, इट इज somebody says that, somebody explains that, लेकिन there are people who cannot even understand by listening. So that's where our principle of shravanam mananam nididhyasnam comes. ये सुनना भी है, चिंतन भी करना है, and then imbibe the teaching. So this shlok is kind of saying that message, is giving that कि आप उसको सुनो. तो बुद्ध के पास, like Buddha was used to teach people. So one person went to him and has said that I'm here to learn from you. So, and this story is very famous. Various versions are there. So he said, can you teach me the truth or silence, whatever you call it, Shanti or Atma, various names. Let's assume like about Atma, without words and without the wordless. Now look at the condition he gave: without words and without the wordless. Can you teach me the truth or Shanti or Atma? And he asked 2 times, and Buddha was sitting there and just with nothing, no expression. Look at him. And he sat there for a few minutes, and he stood up and he said, okay, pranam kiya, chala gaya, as if he got the answer. So another shish who was sitting there, he said, what? You didn't answer? And he just smiled, and as if he got the answer, he left. So what happened? So Buddha, there's a famous quotation by Buddha. He says, there are some horses who can get the message just by the shadow of the whip. You know, the horses, there is a whip, but many times, majority time, whip is not used because horse is trained enough. But horse get the message looking at the shadow of the whip that, oh, I have to move. So the message was, silence is the truth. तुम मेरे से उत्तर लेने आए हो, मैं उत्तर दूंगा, फिर प्रश्न खड़ा हो जाएगा, फिर तर्क करोगे. So stop the tark, like which is the logic. And that's why I say that भगवान की जब प्रार्थना करते हैं तो उसमें कुछ there is no science of tark. It is a प्रार्थना. तो सामने ईश्वर है, आप आनंद लो. That's what Buddha's message was, that ज्यादा तर्क में नहीं पढ़ो, क्योंकि philosophy and तर्क में it's like a thread over thread, endless. एक लड़का था, वो he went to university and then he got some higher education, PhD in philosophy. Oh, he came after getting the PhD, and his mother was not very literate. She was a very ordinary lady. And father was a little smart guy, maybe Gita padhta honge father. So he came, and then they're very happy that kid has come back after PhD. And so mother prepared the dinner. And she said, बेटा अभी क्या है कि आज मैंने बनाया तो तेरे को लड्डू बहुत पसंद है. मैंने लड्डू बनाए, लेकिन थोड़ा मटेरियल वाज लेस, तो मैंने 2 ही लड्डू बनाए. ठीक है. तो उसने कुछ नहीं बोला. तो उसने मदर ने बोला कि तू क्या पढ़ के आया है? आई डोंट नो व्हाट what is philosophy? He said, oh mother, I'll tell you what is philosophy. Philosophy is a subject which you can prove by logic anything. He said, anything is what? Well, yeah, anything I can prove by logic. So I said, okay. So she said, I don't understand. He said, I'll tell you. So you made only 2 laddu, right? We are 3 people. So this is, tell me, this is laddu number 1? She said, yes. He put finger on the, this is laddu number 2? He said, yes. 1 plus 2, 3. Now we are 3 laddu. She said, wow, भाई तू तो बड़ा एजुकेटेड है. फिर उनका भोजन जब हो गया तो उसके बाद डिनर के बाद डिजर्ट टाइम, मदन ने कहा डिजर्ट के लड्डू खाओ. पिताजी वेदांतिक गीता पढ़ी हुई, उन्होंने कहा बेटा एक काम करते हैं कि मैं बड़ा हूँ सबसे, तो लड्डू नंबर 1 मैं खा लेता हूँ, तेरी माँ उसकी बात है लड्डू नंबर 2 तेरी माँ खा लेगी, लड्डू नंबर 3 तू खा लेना. There is no laddu number 3. So the logic doesn't work always. You just by proving that there are 3 laddu, there is no 3 laddu. So भगवान कहते हैं कि इसमें ये आत्मा को समझने में ज्यादा लॉजिक नहीं लगाना. शास्त्र सेज और शास्त्र तरीका बता दिया है, ध्यान करो, भजन करो, and then you realize that. So let's not get too much logic, and that's what Bhagwan is saying here, that Arjun, do the practice, and we'll that's what we do continue. So we'll do our dhyan, but just before that, Janma and Mrityu ka topic is over, Atma topic is over. So there are 3 things Bhagwan did in the second, the beginning of the 2nd chapter. Bhagwan kind of challenged Arjun when he was saying, oh, I don't want to kill. So Bhagwan told Arjun, this condition and this like situation, the word Bhagwan used, klebyam ma smagah. So first teaching, not teaching, but as a senior, he kind of yelled at Arjun, or we say that disapprove Arjun's thought process that, oh, I don't want to kill, I want to, we should do ahimsa and all those things and take sannyas, lashing. The first thing was lashing. Then Arjun said, no, I am your shish, please explain me. Then whole this Atma teaching came, which is Atma Gyan, which is darshan. So first was just lashing, and he said, disapproved your logic. Then Bhagwan gave him Atma darshan. A third part is this, which is a conventional and ordinary teaching, that, oh, even if you take the body, you should not worry. Ultimate goal is that you should not worry. तीनों तरीके से मैंने तेरे को समझा दिया. Then from next onward, Bhagavad Gita, the famous Karma Yoga will and Gyan Yoga will start next week when we meet. But and then death and life also, Bhagwan is very clearly said that don't worry about birth and death. ये तो unavoidable है. और वही principle है कि you will die, everybody will die, but when or how you don't know. So that is a fact, unavoidable. So जो unavoidable है, choiceless situation में, why are you struggling? The only way you have to, but mind is still is a human mind, is wondering. So that's why he say, okay, उसको समझो. Shutva, the word he has used, Shutva api enam na ved, सुनकर भी जो नहीं जानता है वो अज्ञानी है. तो भगवान कहते हैं सुनो, श्रवणम मननम निधिध्यासन, listen to this, practice, and then you will overcome this. So we'll get into our dhyan. But I remember there's a famous हरिवंश राय बच्चन की कविता है, लाइफ एंड डेथ और आत्मा पे. तो हमारे जब हमारी my daughter was getting married, so in the room we took the room which is hospitality room. So when I went there, I saw my wife had like lot of things, gifts. So one side, one gift set, and second side, I said, what is this? Like two. She said, ये स्वागत का की गिफ्ट है, जब बारात आएगी तो मिलनी वगैरह होता है, और ये विदाई की गिफ्ट है, जब बारात जाएगी ये सब लोग, तो ये सब गेस्ट को. सो एक स्वागत की गिफ्ट थी, एक विदाई की गिफ्ट थी. हरिवंश राय बच्चन की बहुत अच्छी कविता है, देन विल डू ध्यान. स्वागत के ही साथ विदा की होती देखी तैयारी. स्वागत होता है, उसके साथ विदाई की तैयारी भी होती है. ऐसे वो शादी में ऐसा ही होता है हम लोग यहाँ. स्वागत के ही साथ विदा की होती देखी तैयारी, आने के ही साथ जगत में कहलाया जाने वाला. दैट्स व्हाट भगवान इज सेइंग. सी, जातस्य ध्रुव मृत्यु, आ गए तो जाना ही है. शर्मा जी के यहाँ लड़का हुआ है, ठीक है, फिर वो लड़का 70-80 साल का था, मरता है, शर्मा जी का लड़का चला गया. वही स्वागत, आने के ही साथ जगत में कहलाया जाने वाला. जो आता है वही जाता है, कोई दूसरा नहीं जाता है. मैं आता हूं तो मैं ही जाऊंगा, संजय मेहता ही जाएगा. आने के ही साथ जगत में कहलाया जाने वाला, और बंद लगी होने खुलते ही मेरी जीवन मधुशाला. ये खुलते ही बंद होने की तैयारी शुरू हो जाती है. The shutter has to go down at one day. Then what is the Arjun? This is अपरिहार्य thing. This is inevitable fact. So na shochitum arhasi. Then don't worry. The only thing you can do, don't worry and do my dhyan. So with that, we can do our dhyan session. So again, this is coming from Bhagwan Krishna from 6th chapter, and we'll just follow what Bhagwan says. And he says it viditva. This is the way we should know. Viditva means this is the way we comprehend the teaching. Right? We'll say Om 6 times, and then we'll follow the process. Now this is journey from gross to subtle, Panch Mahabhut to the Atma. So just pay attention to the tip of nose, or focus on the tip of nose, and feel the breath, and bring the image of Prithvi, because Prithvi is the element which we feel through nose. The nose is one of the Gyanendri. Shallow and slow breath. Just keep the focus at the tip of the nose. Normal breathing, bring the image of Prithvi. Prithvi is for us, Prithvi is Devi. Now shift focus, attention to the tip of the tongue, and we can feel there, when we shift the focus, we can feel a little bit of juice there. So that means this is Jal is another tattva, which is subtler than Prithvi, and we feel through Rasna or tongue. So bring the image of Jal, any river, right? Water or river or a fountain, because Jal is also for us Varuna Devata. Now shift focus to the eyes and think of Agni Devata. We can bring image of Diya or Surya Bhagwan. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan says, Jyotishanam Shashi Bhanu Asmi. So for us, Surya Bhagwan. So bring Bhagwan Surya's image, or Diya or Yagya Agni, anything. And keep the focus on eyes, which is Agni Tattva. Now shift focus to the skin and feel Vayu. Vayu, the only way we feel Vayu is through skin. And for us, Vayu is Devta, which is air, people say, but Vayu Devta. So we can feel Vayu Devta or Vayu on our skin. Now shift focus to the ears, and we can hear some subtle sound, right? Because sound travels in space, and we are in space. So space is the last, subtlest, which is a gross manifestation of Bhagwan, which is, we call it Akash. So sound travels in Akash. That's why we focus on ear And we can feel that, right? We are in a space, and there is a sound traveling in space. So by doing this, our rishis, when Bhagwan in the Gita says that we are shutting down all these senses which transact with the outside world. Our mind transact with the outside world using these senses. So by doing this, we slowly shut down these senses. Then now I think that I am not these body, these senses. We are not discarding them, but with respectfully, we are saying I am not these senses. I am not this body. And beyond bodies, I am mind. I am not mind. And beyond mind is buddhi, intellect. I am not buddhi or intellect. I am that Chaitanya Atma, Sakshi, which is the witness of all what is happening here. And Bhagavan says, after this, just do a Brahma Vichar. And that's what he said, like in this Shloka also. Koi sunkar bhi nahi janta, Shutva means Brahma Vichar means whatever we thought. So best Brahma Vichar is Gayatri Mantra. So say Gayatri Mantra in mind, and we should say with meaning in playing in the mind. Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. And then Bhagavan says, after doing Brahma Vichar, Yukta Asit Matpara. Surrender to me and stay in that position. Asit means remain in this position as long as possible. Basically, we are in the presence of Bhagavan. Actually, we are Bhagavan. Presence is inside. So the only thing what we can do is while sitting there, keep Bhagavan's thought or image in mind and slow and shallow breath. Some people say you can observe the breath if mind wanders. If mind goes here, just observe the breath and come back to the same Bhagavan's thought. Bhagavan should be in our thought. And the day will come that everything is gone. Either I remain as Atma or Paramatma. One of them will remain. That's what people call Samadhi. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Krishna Kalaya Lal Ki Jai. Hare Om.